Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about HappyFunland, and I really don't know any other way to bring and review this game to you other than just kind of throwing my gameplay up onto the screen and kind of talking over it and telling you exactly what's going on with it. I just want to start this off by saying I really usually don't like to rip a lot of games. I like to look for the good in every single game that's out there. But with this one, I was really stoked on it and happy to see a game whose trailer looked absolutely amazing. Got me in the mood for another VR horror game, and everything about it just looked cool to me. I liked the environment, things like that. So the developers were able to send me a key, and I'm super happy and grateful for it. But the thing is, the truth of this game is it needs a whole lot of help. Right from the get-go, you basically don't have the accessibility options that almost every single VR game out there has. You're only able to put on vignettes, and you only have snap turning. For someone like me, I absolutely despise snap turning. I really need smooth turning on every single game. Makes me nauseous right from the get-go with just snap turning. I don't know what it is, but it's not cool for me. Some people like it. A lot of people don't. So we are lacking those accessibility options. I just want to say that at the beginning of the game, it looks cool. The environments look great. The voice acting it was pretty cool. So I was kind of looking over those small things with accessibility just to kind of get into the game and get used to it. But soon I was kind of met with other issues as well. You put on a pair of headphones in-game, and you're supposed to have like radio communication with one of the characters, and it sounds great. At first, it kind of took me back because the audio when he was talking sounded very muffled. But then I realized that, yes, I did put on some headsets in-game and maybe, was able to look past that and kind of immerse myself and say, okay, I got on headsets now. It's supposed to be a little muffled, not super crisp and clear. And, we're talking through radio communication. So it kind of made me feel like, all right, that's no big deal. That's just the way the audio is supposed to be. Be a little bit more realistic. You're listening through a headset that might not have good signal. And that's neither here nor there. I was able to look past that. You soon realize that the hands in your environment literally interact with every single thing that you touch, and you don't have to press trigger or grip. Your hands are literally just interacting with everything in the environment. So if you want to walk up to a door, you literally just put your hand on the door and it interacts and it opens the door, or whatever the case may be. You have collectibles that you're supposed to get. You could just touch it and it interacts. Kind of broke the immersion for me without being able to touch grip and actually interact with the environment. And it also made things very difficult in the menu. I was trying to mess with the settings as far as the snap turning being 30, 45, 60, and 90. I would highlight 45, and then when I went down to go back to the game, it would highlight 60, and then it would return me to the game. And that was because the hand interacts with everything. Instead of clicking your option, you literally just touch it, and if you're too quick on it, it selects a different snap turning degree, basically, before you hit, return the game. And I found that very annoying, but once again was able to look past that and realize, that's something that just needs to be changed. You start interacting with things in the environment, and it starts to get a little iffy. There's tape recorders that you have to listen to, and if your hand accidentally brushes up against it, it basically restarts the recording over, and I found that a little excessive. It happened one time. I had to re-listen to it almost twice over in order for it to you know, get all the way through the recording because I accidentally brushed with my hand in there instead of having just a trigger action to start the recording. So kind of disappointing there as well. I will say that once you're walking through the park, the environment looks great, the characters look great, everything seems to be pretty cool and fine. You know, you're taken back by the story because you want to find out what happens next. And the story seems to be pretty cool. You're all about being in like a haunted theme park, and you really just want to keep progressing through the park because you want to see what happens next. The theme park gives you a map that you can look at, which is really cool. The problem is you can't see anything on the map other than the big 3 sections of where you actually are. It's like Western Land, and then there's, you know, you can only see the big text that's on there. I would really like to see, especially when you get later on in the game, where exactly you are on the map. So there's no real pin indication where you are on the map, which is kind of funny to me. You kind of can immerse yourself into it and say, you know, this is kind of like in the real world where you're going through a amusement park. You kind of don't know where you're at, but that's not true. In a real world, you always kind of know where you are somewhere in the park. It pins and says you are here. I'd like to see that on the map itself. Just kind of have like a little pin or a little bobblehead or something that shows, hey, you're in this section of the park now, which is what I would like to see. Makes things less confusing, kind of makes it look like you're moving through the map, and a little more interactive that way. Early on in the game, you come across basically a little golfing section, which I found to be really cool. And it's throughout the whole entire park, you're basically playing mini golf, or putt-putt, should you say. And you literally pull a lever, you get a golf club, and you pull another lever, or push a button, and you get a golf ball. And you're able to basically play putt-putt. And there's a scorecard that keeps track of your score, and all of that through the whole entire park. Basically, if you gauge where you are with the putt-putt, is basically where you are in the game. So just an hour of playing, it looked like I was pretty much halfway through the game. At the time of this video, I probably will have finished the game, but the time of me talking and recording this, I'd probably say I'm like 75% through the game. So I don't know exactly how long the game is, but I would definitely 100% wager that this is less than 3 hours for sure. I would say about 2 hours, 2.5 is probably how long this is. There is no difficulty setting or anything like that, which basically brings me down to combat. Combat is basically non-existent in this game. There really is no rhyme or reason to it. You're supposed to use your golf club basically as your main weapon, and I was not able to determine whether it's how hard you swing the golf club, or how hard, or like where you hit them on the enemy, but it looks like you have to knock the heads off of all the enemies, and you can literally just sit there and flail your arms until the enemy's dead. There really was no like indication how hard you're supposed to hit them, but you clearly had to hit them in the head, and I literally would just sit there and flail my arm and hands until they were dead, which felt really, really bad, to be honest with you. So as you progress through the park, you're basically riding all kinds of amusement park rides. And it's cool because it does make you feel like you are riding through the rides. At one point, though, I got turned around and basically hopped back on the same ride somehow, and I had to go through the whole entire ride again. So basically, like, I went through the front of the ride, and then I basically backtracked into the back of the ride where I got off at, and it basically like started the ride completely over. So unrealistic. It, you know, like once you get to the end of the ride, you're not going to go backwards through the line, which is what I did, like a dummy, and it automatically shot me to the front of the ride, which you know, it's kind of disappointing that I had to sit through all of it again. And realistically, you're not going to go through the exit line to the front of the line. So it's basically what I'm saying. So it was kind of weird. Overall, though, you know, the game has a beautiful environment. It does have some jump scares. I would say that this is kind of for a mature audience. There was a lot of sexual innuendo that was throughout the park and throughout the game that I played, you know, towards the end. A lot of stuff going on with that. Also, it was kind of funny because unless you were really, like, knew what was going on, you probably wouldn't notice it. But, you know, there's a ride where you're basically going through a strip club and then you take some drugs. And then later on, there's a part where there's a lady with huge boobs and you get on that ride. And then, you know, later on in the game, you've got like hippos humping each other and stuff. It's kind of odd, you know, but I get it. It's part of the humor. You know, I thought it was pretty funny, that's for sure, but definitely not made for the younger audiences. It's definitely a mature type of game. There's no doubt about it. You know, this game has huge potential, and I really wanted it to be a lot more immersive and a lot more to it. Like I said, it's almost kind of like a walking simulator where you're just swinging your arms at enemies. I really think this game should be held off on for a day one update. We really need those accessibility options. We really need to see some optimization with every time I got off a ride or every time I got into a cutscene after it, I would be thrown into a crouch position. I would have to click in my right stick to make me stand back up. I was playing sitting down, but, you know, I feel like every game that I've played with the PlayStation VR2, it was able to tell if I'm standing or sitting because of the option that you have before you get into every game that asks if you're standing or sitting. So it was really kind of awkward. So I'm not sure why that kept happening. You know, the game definitely does have some pluses to it. You know, the characters were great. You know, they pop up behind you and it's scary. It gave you jump scares. You know, a lot of the rides mimic some real world, like Disney World rides, like It's a Small World and Pirates of the Caribbean. And there was some pretty cool stuff going on with that. But the rides just felt very bland. It was just like stuff jumping at you. And there was even one part where something was behind me and I didn't even know it was behind me until I looked, and it kind of triggered it, which was cool. But like, I had no idea it was behind me, and if I didn't look behind me, it wouldn't have triggered. There's a part where there's stuff crawling on the ceiling of a ride, and I completely missed that, and it's because I didn't look up. It's kind of awkward in that where you're missing things unless you're looking around your whole entire environment, and there was really no indication that anything was up there behind me, and it felt awkward. So, you know, overall, there's quite a few things, you know, going on with the game. And I really think a day one update is definitely something that you should wait for to address some of these issues. You know, that's all I really have to say about it. I was looking forward to it, and it really kind of sucks. And I was disappointed to see what was actually presented to us. So I'm really hoping that we see a day one patch. You should probably wait until that happens and maybe revisit it then. The accessibility options is really what killed it for me, and I really think that would make things so much smoother for the game and more enjoyable. If those options are just there, period, make things a lot smoother. Other than that, that's really all I have to say. This is definitely a hold off on until we see some updates. Very disappointed in it, was looking forward to it, really was, big time, but it just did not deliver like it should have. So with that being said, make sure if you guys want to check out the gameplay, definitely do so. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Hope to see some updates soon. We will see y'all in the next video.